The Lost Mermaid-Chapter 26. In the ocean's current, my father's lifeless body was ripped away by the undertow. I couldn't let him be swept away. He needed air. He needed to breathe. Bubbles swirled around me as I frantically swam toward him. Finally, I managed to grab hold of the suspender of his overalls and pulled him close, cradling him like a helpless infant in my arms. "Dad!" I cried out in anguish. It was difficult to process what was happening before me. My dad, who hadn't cared about me since the day I was born, had leapt into the ocean to rescue me. And now he was dying right before my eyes. A tumult of emotions flooded through me, leaving me utterly bewildered. Love, hatred, disbelief, anger, and most of all, a profound sense of concern. "Dad, wake up." I barely managed to keep from screaming the words as panic gripped me. He was dying in the frigid waters. No, this can't be happening. I held back sobs as my tears disappeared into the sea. "Emerald," I called, my voice shaking. She swam to me. I gripped her arm, pleading for help. "It's my dad," I cried. "He's going to die. What can I do?" I was too emotional to think, but Emerald's calm expression stabilized me. "I can help thee," she said. "But first, make him an air bubble." I nodded desperately, blowing air into the dark water. Bringing bubbles close to my lips, I blew into them, growing and morphing them together. Quickly, I placed my bubble over my dad's head, hoping it stayed. I watched anxiously as he coughed and sputtered, air flowing into his lungs. He was breathing. I relaxed. Relief flooded my body. His eyes were still closed, but he was breathing. Aaron came up behind me, eyes questioning. Emerald quickly explained, and Aaron took Dad from me, carrying him to the nearest orb. Once inside the eating chamber, Dad's breathing became more regular, but his face was still ghostly pale. Floating beside me, Emerald slid one of the golden chains from her hair. I watched as she wove the strand around his neck, singing softly. His body lit up, glowing warmly, color returning to his cheeks. "Dad," I trembled, reaching my hand towards him to stroke his face. His eyes shot open, blurry and unfocused, darting wildly around his surroundings. I withdrew my hand, not wanting to startle him. My hopes rose as he turned his gaze toward me, blinking rapidly in an attempt to regain his focus. "Julie?" he asked hoarsely. "What's going on?" My shoulders relaxed, and I sighed in relief. "You're in the ocean with me, Dad. You're safe. You're not dreaming. You're at Patrick's Point, but you're under the sea." "What the devil?" he said, his eyes wide, finally focusing. "Julie, you have a tail. It's all right, Dad." "No, it's not. Get that thing off." And there was the Dad I remembered. I shook my head. "No, Dad." He looked at me, and I could practically see the wheels spinning in his head. "My daughter's a mermaid? How do I get her back home?" I said. "Dad, you need to go back to the surface." "We both need to go," he insisted. "No, Dad. I am staying here." "What? It's not safe?" "With the pod, it's safe. I can swim and breathe here. I'm fine." Dad looked desperate and bewildered. "Is the tail permanent?" I knew what he was really asking. Would I always be a mermaid? As resolved as I was to stay here, I thought it might not be best to tell him. So I answered, "No, Dad. Only if I wear it during a full moon. But there's a full moon tomorrow." "I know, Dad," I said. "I need to leave you for a while, but I'll be back. I'm going out. We need to gather mermena." "Julie, He trailed off. I waited, and a moment later he said, "I'm going with you." "What?" That was not what I was expecting. "I am going with you, but I won't wear one of those gall-darned blasted tails." "Dad, you won't survive without fins." His stubborn jaw clenched. Julie, I am going with you. Do you hear me? I sighed, knowing I'd better find a way. Let me see what I can do. Diving through the floor into the vestment room, I found Aaron. I asked, is there anything my dad can use to swim down here? He won't wear a tail. Aye, he said. Pulling a heavy medallion necklace off a high shelf, he said, this will allow thy father to breathe. I shall give it to him. He grabbed more outfittings and swam back with me into the eating chamber. He handed the medallion and mermena to my dad. Put this on, so thou can breathe in the deep, Aaron commanded. It shall work well, but thou must revive it by placing it in mermena each night. And eat this, Dad, I said. He eyed the necklace suspiciously, placing the necklace, but took a bite from a sea star. As he did so, a golden webbing formed around him, encasing his torso, but leaving his legs loose and free. Aaron handed him a pair of earrings and another necklace, carefully explaining their purpose. I don't need that, Dad said, shaking his head. But thou need armor. It will keep thee warm, said Aaron. Dad frowned. I'm fine. Boy, he was stubborn. But on the other hand, I was amazed that my dad, an old farmer, was in the sea with me and a mermaid colony. How art thou feeling? Aaron asked my dad. Better, he said. Good. I gazed at my dad in astonishment, watching as he struggled to process and come to terms with what was happening. He appeared to be completely overwhelmed. His world had shattered into a kaleidoscope of unforeseen colors, leaving him struggling to accept the reality of his situation. Dad, you're going to be okay, I reassured. He shook himself as though in a daze. Well, he said nervously, let's go. I took a deep breath. I said, I can't believe you're here. This place is wonderful. I'm sure you'll love it. He nodded as we swam out of the orb into the ocean. Dad was glued to my side as we swam further out to sea. I encouraged, Dad, enjoy the view. He huffed. I am, as he struggled to keep up. For some time, we swam in silence, taking in the schools of fish, vibrant coral reefs, and hidden underwater caverns. I purposely steered clear of the pod, giving my father some space to acclimate to the new environment so we could be alone. I didn't want anyone else around in case he blew up like usual. To my surprise, however, he managed to keep his cool. We swam a little bit further before he turned to me, eyes hard. I braced myself for the tirade. Julie, I can't believe you snuck out to come here. Your brothers are in a storm risking their lives looking for you. And your mother is worried sick. His voice rose at the last words, and I felt a wave of defensiveness come over me. I tried to stay calm. Dad, I had to get Emerald, the mermaid, back to the sea. She couldn't stay in our pond any longer. She was in our pond? He shook his head. You could have at least told me what was going on. No, I couldn't. I glared. You wouldn't have believed me and she would have died. If you'd told me, Julie, you would be safe right now. We all would, and none of this craziness would be happening. My fists clenched until my knuckles turned white. The familiar anger returned. I thought I'd gotten over it, but it was still there. My rational mind could tell he was trying to say he cared about me and wanted me to be safe. I allowed the thought to calm me and took a few deep breaths before replying. Dad, you've always taught me to do the right thing, no matter what, right? Yes, of course. I spread my hands. Can you understand that someone's life was at stake? She had no one to help her? Can you see why I had to go? He seemed baffled. Probably because we'd never talked like this before. Dad, I'm fine. I don't need your help. I tried not to sound cold. Let's get back to the pod. I turned to swim away, but he grabbed my arm, pulling me with his rough farm hands. Wait, what pods? What are you talking about? Let go of me. My voice was deathly calm. He let go. I pointed to the cluster of orbs harnessed to the whales. How had he missed them? They were massive, and we swam right through them. I resisted the urge to roll my eyes and started to swim, feeling a bit of satisfaction as my dad struggled to keep up. "Have you been down here the whole time?" Dad asked. I nodded. Of course. I was unable to hide the coldness in my voice this time. My dad scowled. "It seems you've forgotten how to respect your elders." I abruptly stopped swimming, turning to face him. He floundered, obviously surprised. "Respect?" I narrowed my eyes. "I have done my best to respect you and Mom. I am obedient. But how can I respect you when all you want me to do is stay home and do nothing? How can I respect you when you don't respect me or listen to me? I want to do things, Dad. I want to have adventures and experiences and fun. I want to be loved. I do love you, Julie." "Really?" I paused. "Because I feel invisible to you. I'm the maid, cook, and babysitter. I never get to do anything. If I were a boy, I bet you would love me and let me have a life." Furious, I whirled around, swimming on before he could reply. My tail propelled me through the water as I blew through a school of fish, half blocking Dad from view. I tried to push the anger out of my expression, but didn't really care. Emerald came beside me, her face unreadable, and I blushed, realizing she'd heard the whole conversation. I had not been kind or charming, but definitely honest. She didn't speak. She simply swam next to me in silence, comforting me without saying anything. After a while, I looked back, seeing that Dad had dropped far behind, barely moving. I could see he was pale and struggling for some reason. Worry found its way into my heart. As angry as I still was, I stopped, waiting for him to catch up. When he did, I noticed his breathing was shallow and unsteady, and he was shivering. Are you okay, Dad?" I asked. His eyes were grim as he muttered, "I'm fine." I didn't believe him. He was clearly freezing. I forgot how cold the water was. Ever since I'd come, I'd been protected by the tiara and had never been affected by it. But Dad had jumped in initially without anything to shield him from the cold. The last of my anger drained away as I remembered he'd been trying to save me. "Come here, Dad," I said, putting my arm behind his back and guiding him toward the pod. "Emerald?" I said as I caught up to her. "Can you help me warm him up?" "'Twould be a pleasure." With a flick of her tail, she dashed to the orb. I followed, keeping a hold of his arm. He said nothing, and I didn't push him. I knew leaning on me like he was hurt his pride. My dad had always been the toughest cowboy in the county. But here he was, completely out of his element. We swam inside our orb, Dad floating in place, unsure of himself. Emerald made tea and handed him some dried fish to eat. The combination of food and drink seemed to revive him. Emerald also gave Dad the jewelry Aaron had offered earlier, which he put on. It did my heart good to make him comfortable, knowing he would be protected better in the icy waters. He had risked his life to come here. Although he didn't know how to show his love, I realized he did love me, and I loved him. Memories of times I'd spent at home returned to me. Dad loved going places. He always wanted his children to see things. Yes, there were too many horse rides for the boys, but I was always included on our road trips. Mom was often hesitant about leaving home. She'd usually say, "But Frank, maybe we should stay home. What if something bad happens?" Dad would say, "If we stay home, we'll slip on a banana peel and break our neck. Pack some food and get in the car." We'd hop in the station wagon and set off to see anything we could within a day's drive. Sometimes we'd sleep inside or under the vehicle if we stayed overnight. We weren't the richest family, but we saw everything we could within a day's drive. We saw waterfalls, beaches, mountains, wildlife, museums, and historical sites. My favorite was hiking every redwood trail by our home in Northern California. On the trip, There'd always be a point where Dad would look in his rearview mirror to look back at his carload of kids. He'd say, "Do you know I am the luckiest man alive?" Mom would smile. We all knew what he was saying, that he loved us and was so happy to have us all. It was weird to realize I actually missed him a little. Even my brothers. Was I really going to stay here for the rest of my life? I bit my lip as Emerald left, leaving Dad and I alone. Dad? I began hesitantly after a few moments of silence. "I'm sorry for running away. I really should have told you something or asked for help." He sighed. "Julie, I can't believe you left without telling me. But really, I'm just glad you're safe." He paused. "What's wrong with your arm?" He pointed to the seaweed wrapped around my wound. I glanced down at it. "Oh, it's nothing. Just a cut. It's a huge gash. How's it going to heal down here in the water?" "It's healing quite well." I unveiled it, and he gasped to see an 8-inch wound smothered in thick salve. "How did that happen?" "It's a long story." Our eyes met, and I soaked in his presence. It was actually comforting to see him again, so familiar and strong. He actually was a sight for sore eyes. I wished things had been different between us. I felt guilty for being so angry at him. I guess he really did care about me, a little. Maybe I'd been too stubborn to see it. "Julie," a voice came from farther down the way. I glanced behind my shoulder to see Heather swimming towards us. She saw my dad and froze, her expression morphing into shock. No one moved. Finally, Heather whispered, "Frank?" His eyes widened. He asked quietly, "Heather, is that you?" She nodded. I watched with a full heart as she rushed forward to hug my dad, burying her face in his shoulder. He held her tightly, in cold shock. After a few moments, he whispered, breaking the silence, "I thought you were dead."